Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. This will be a comparison between these two knives. We'll call this the battle of the Benchmades. These are two new Benchmades for 2017, the Benchmade Freek and the Benchmade Boost. Both of these are pretty cool knives, and I've positively reviewed both of them, but the question is, maybe you've watched both of those reviews and you go, gee, which one should I buy? Well, hopefully today we're going to try to determine that. There will be some variables that I care about, maybe that you don't, or vice versa. So whether you agree with my overall assessment or not, at least this should give you enough information to make a choice for yourself. Okay, both of these are great knives. Of course, this one costs a little bit more. So there is a question of whether you go with the slightly lighter built Benchmade Freek for about 110 bucks, or whether you step up and spring for the Boost at 140. I would like to know this, guys. Those are MAP prices, but I wonder, do MAP prices apply to brick and mortar stores? So if you go to, say, a Cabela's or Bass Pro or any other brick and mortar store, are these prices the same, or do they cost a little less online? If someone knows and would like to comment, I would love to hear that. Let's go ahead with our comparison and get into, first, the Benchmade Freek. Size and weight on this guy: 8.5 inches overall, 3 9/16 inch blade, 4 7/8 inch handle, and a very lightweight 3.7 ounces. Really, really comfortable to carry with that very light weight. On the other hand, we have the thicker, heavier Boost, and some of you may prefer that. This guy is still 8.5 inches, 3 5/8 inch blade, 4 3/4 inch handle. So the blade to handle ratio is a little better on the Boost, and that's something I do like. One big difference, of course, is the weight at almost 1 ounce heavier, 4.57 ounces on this guy, and the thickness. So if I turn these up and put them side by side, you can see this guy's around 1/2 inch thick, but this is almost 3/4 inch thick right at this sort of swollen point here. So that does make a difference for carry. And I put these back and forth in my pocket a few times, trying to sort of figure out which one I preferred in pocket. And really, they're very close. This one's a little harder to get into the pocket because of that VersaFlex. This one's a little easier, accommodating with that little hard spot at the front to allow it to go into pocket easier, but it's definitely thicker in pocket. And if you're wearing tighter pants, a pair of tight jeans or something, you may notice. Now, if you're like me and you wear a lot of khakis and 511 pants and stuff, maybe you don't care. But this guy is a little bit thicker, okay? So in terms of size and weight, this is a tough call, guys. The blade to handle ratio is better here. You're getting more cutting edge in a shorter package. Here, the weight is very low, and it's a little slimmer, so it's a little more comfortable to carry. This guy, you're getting a little more blade length for the size. Those two things to me are kind of a trade-off, okay? This obviously is not heavy enough. If this was really heavy, like if this was 6.5 ounces or something, then the Freek would take it on weight alone. But those, to me, are too close to call. So size and weight, I'm gonna say it's a trade-off. It depends whether you prefer the thinner knife in pocket or whether you prefer a little more blade length or a little more cutting edge for your knife. And of course, construction is going to come into play as well. If you insist on those stainless steel liners, that's going to be another consideration, but we'll wait for that till we actually get to the handle construction discussion. So size and weight, I'm going to call it a draw because of the trade-off between those different features. Now, let's go ahead and get into the blades. Both of these blades are S30V steel, very nicely done, nice and thin behind the edge. They both cut really, really nicely, and I'm really enjoying carrying both of these. I find both of these blades perform really well. There's a little more strength. This design carries a little more strength, a little more toughness out to the tip of the knife, and that is something that I do appreciate. Now this one slices just a little better. They're both the same blade stock, okay, so if I hold these side by side, you can see that. But the higher grind on this means that the angle here is less abrupt. Okay, so there's a bit of a trade-off here between strength and slicing ability, although honestly they're very, very close. The other consideration on these blades is what kind of belly you prefer. So this has a little less belly and it's very gentle. This has a little more belly. It starts back here, it's a little larger. So if you're doing some kind of task that requires that nice angle or that nice round portion of the blade here, then of course you'll probably lean toward the Freek. How do I compare these blades? By the way, there's one other consideration here that I want to add, and that is aesthetics. And that's where I think the Boost really pulls ahead. Now, this is a subjective matter. It really is. You may look at these two blades and say, I like the Freek blade much better than the Boost blade. Now, for me, I look at these and I do prefer the blade shape on the Boost. One last comparison here, and that is the blade length. So if I hold these, let's see if I can get this in a way that it makes sense on camera. Try to get them very close together. You can see that I have a little more cutting edge on the Boost, and I do really, really like that. So for me, and I will say at least one of the criteria here is subjective. For me, the blade on the Boost is a little nicer than the blade on the Freek. And, you know, I'm admitting that at least one of the criteria that I'm comparing with is subjective, just the look of the blade. However, I like the toughness. I like the extra cutting edge. So those two things are not subjective. They're like real criteria that everyone is probably going to care about. Okay, so that's how the blades stack up. So far we're tied on size and weight because of the trade-off. Even though the Freek is lighter, the Boost is better blade to handle ratio. On blade, I'm going to give it to the Boost because I like the toughness and I like a little extra edge. And the slicing capability is so close that it's not, you know, worth calling it that different to me. Let's talk about the action now. Of course, the big difference, and this is maybe really simple for you guys, both the action on both of these knives is very good. Obviously, though, the Boost is assisted, so it just flips right open very quickly. As I've said, there are times when I like an assisted knife. If I'm working around the yard, if I'm, you know, for certain tasks where I feel like I may be compromised in terms of what I can do with my hands, I will like, if I'm climbing a ladder, for example, I'll probably prefer the Boost because it's just a hint that that blade should be out and it just flies out for me, okay? So there's a bit of an advantage delivered there by the ease of deployment with an assisted knife. And here's the other thing that's worth considering. And that is the fact that the Boost unassisted is amazing. It is every bit as smooth as the Freek. And if you watched the Freek review, I was extremely impressed with the action. This is a beautiful, beautiful feeling knife. It just drops shut. It's really, really well done. Guess what? The Boost, if you take that spring out of there, is just as good. In fact, I don't know, it may be even better. It's really, really nice. Okay, so how do we call this one? Well, I think this is going to be more a matter of personal preference, okay? I don't think it's fair to declare one a winner and one not because of the fact that some people are going to like an assist and some people aren't, and really the decision has to be made based on that. I'm really on the fence. I don't care whether it's assisted or not. And so because of that, I don't feel one is strongly better than the other. They're both equally as smooth. They both lock up equally solid. They're both using the axis mechanism. So in terms of action, I'm going to declare it a tie with the qualification that obviously you may prefer one or the other depending on what you think of assisted knives. Now, let's get to the handle, and this is where there's a little more of a significant difference between these two. So let me give you a close look at the Freek here. It is constructed from, you know, the reinforced plastic Grivery or GRN or whatever they're calling it. I guess Grivery is Cold Steel's name, but it's constructed from reinforced plastic and then this rubber coating is applied. Inside there you can see just that little bit of stainless steel portion that extends to the end of my finger here. You can see that screw is what holds it into the handle. Okay, and there's another screw over here doing the same job. This is fairly lightweight construction. Let me show you. You can get a little bit of flex out of this, but not a lot. Okay, so to me, that's not the end of the world. And I think the experiences that we have with the Griptilian kind of ought to inform this, okay? It does feel very lightweight, and it can, I don't know, it doesn't feel as cheap and chintzy as the Griptilian. Lots of people have complained about that. The VersaFlex somehow does away with that, and I don't know why. It just makes it feel more substantial, and although there is a little bit of flex there, it's very hard to perceive in hand this way. So in terms of feel, it's not that bad. Now, pick this one up, and yes, it definitely feels more substantial. If you squeeze it, there's no movement whatsoever. I do feel more confident about this knife. Let's say I was going camping and I thought I might be doing like some hard carving tasks or something like that. I would lean toward the Boost because of that extra strength provided by the full stainless steel liners, okay? Let me show you that as well. They are milled out to save weight. And then the scales themselves have that same sort of honeycombed construction as the Freek does. Pocket clip are both reversible for left or right hand. So both of these are very ambidextrous knives, and with the axis lock, again, very ambidextrous. The biggest difference here is the thickness, okay? This one is much thicker. Now that does make it a little more comfortable in hand. This is really hand filling. And again, if you're gonna be doing really, really hard work all the time with your knife, I would lean toward the Boost over the Freek. However, if we compare these on as just purely EDC knives, where we're gonna primarily be doing sort of light cutting tasks, you know, then I would probably lean more toward the Freek. So it's really a tough call here. Overall, I'm going to say that the Boost is going to win this category because of those full liners, which I do really, really like, okay? I'm not gonna compare the clips because, as I said, these ship with, this is how they ship. So this guy comes with a deep carry clip, this guy comes with the split arrow clip. However, if you have one and like the other, it's as simple as an email to Benchmade and they'll send you the new one. Now, the biggest issue that I have with both of these in terms of handle construction is they should have been G10, okay? And in fact, if the Freek were G10, there's a big enough difference in the strength of G10, you would not see that flex. I've got enough knives that are purely G10 construction that I know they're very strong. And so if this was a purely G10 handle, I don't think we would be able to argue the same way about the added strength here. And that's a consideration for both. Obviously, if this were G10 also, we wouldn't have to worry about the VersaFlex coating that both of them do have, okay? So, oh yeah, you know what, these are basically equal. The one thing I will point out here is neither one of these have a good choil, and that's always a bit of a complaint. I guess you can kind of get up here this way on either one, but it's not ideal. Okay, so in terms of handle construction and ergonomics, both are very comfortable. This one just a little more comfortable because of the extra girth that it has. However, that's also a bit of a negative because it makes it a little tougher to carry in pocket. All right, so handle, as I said, I'm gonna give it to the Boost because of the fact that it has those stainless steel liners and therefore feels more versatile to me. I feel like I could carry this in some other areas that I wouldn't necessarily want to carry the Freek. Okay, now overall, what is my take on both of these? Both are very, very good knives, guys, and either one you pick, I don't think you're going to be disappointed, provided that you do some due diligence to avoid any potential quality control issues, okay? Both of these are very good, very useful knives. For me, I prefer the blade shape and the full liners of the Boost, and therefore would lean toward that one. And the assist does not put me off at all. In fact, I kind of like it. So for me, the Boost is going to take this comparison. However, I fully understand that there will be a good number of you who go, no way, I hate those assisted knives. The Freek is definitely better. It's lighter and the blade shape is better. And I definitely can hear all of those arguments as well. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know if you're going to pick up one of these knives or if you just kind of are not that compelled by either one of them. Talk to you soon. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.